Oh, right. Okay. So wait, Ben, how do you say your last name? Vondriel.
Von Drehle.
Von Drehle. Okay. Ben Von Drehle, CEO at the Root Coworking in Tulsa, Oklahoma, by way of Denver for years, a little bit of time in New York City, undergrad in Mississippi. Okay. Who's from Tulsa? You, your wife, or both?
We are both from Tulsa.
Nice.
So yeah, wasn't born in Tulsa, but we grew up. My wife was born in Tulsa. I was born outside of Philadelphia, and my family relocated to Tulsa when I was about 5 years old. So pretty much a native of Tulsa, and then left for college. Moved out to Denver to join JLL as a tenant rep broker, and
You
so
can't
was in.
skip over college. You were a rebel in college. I mean, come on. You just go
Yeah,
to college.
yeah, those were 4 hazy years, but we had a blast. So yeah, I'm an Ole Miss rebel. Definitely support the SEC. Had a great time there, and then moved out to Denver shortly after college.
And much like our good friend Nick, Jamie, he has a brokerage background. So that's kind of where Nick and him found some common ground, talking about the old days and kind of how they saw the opportunity for co-working. And Nick started Common Desk, and a few years later, Ben's hot on his heels with the Root. So
yeah, I wish I got started in the co-working industry around the same time as Nick, but it took me a few more years. But we definitely saw a gap in our market in Tulsa when we were living in Denver, and I just became infatuated with the co-working scene and studied
because
it for
as a
years.
broker, if you're a smart broker and you get it, you're like, this is interesting. I have a lot of clients that need, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually started with JLL in 2012. So it was 2014, I believe, when WeWork kind of jumped on the scene in Denver, and our team kind of worked on that lease in their first building at the Triangle building there in Denver. And so, we were at the time, we were like, who are these guys? Where is this money coming from? I think they took down 2 full floors, and it's kind of a crazy move. And so I started studying WeWork and a few of the other co-working operators in town, and kind of made it a mission of mine to just learn the little, details around how co-working operators function, how they operate their space, everything from the hospitality approach to, kind of what my expertise was in real estate, and knew that kind of there was a huge gap in the market in kind of these small cities like Tulsa that needed it. There was a demand for it. And so when we launched our space in 2019, we were really one of 2 operators that were operating at over 10,000 square feet. And to this day, we still are. So
isn't that crazy? Wow. Will you get more competition? Are there folks that you know of who are in progress, or are you still kind of?
I've heard there's a few operators that are poking around Tulsa and looking at breaking into the market. I mean, we'll see. I think that you'd be foolish to not look at a market like Tulsa. So I would imagine there's going to be some competition.
But it's hard to compete with somebody who has, roots, no pun intended, in Tulsa.
We love all the puns.
Totally.
And I think that's the biggest part, right? Is people come in and it's a different culture, right? Some of these smaller flyover cities that people don't think of. I mean, in my opinion, you're never going to get the big ones, right? Industrious, WeWork, none of those guys are going to look at this, at least not for a long time, if they ever do.
Yeah.
But it's the smaller groups that see the demand in a market this size, right? That are focused on, Tulsa, Asheville, North Carolina, Winston-Salem, Savannah, Georgia. I mean, some of these smaller markets, I mean, our good friend Mara is crushing it in Waco, right? Is who would ever guess that, right? She just had a really good broker that helped her in that market. But either way, I mean, that's just the realities. There's a ton of opportunity in those markets, and especially coming out of the pandemic and with the hybrid work and all that kind of stuff. People are flocking to cities like this. I mean, Jamie, you spent a ton of time in Tulsa, right? And I mean,
I've never been to Tulsa.
Tahoe,
I know. I was like, I kind of want to go to Tulsa.
Different tea. But in Tahoe, there's been a huge growth and influx of people that are putting roots down in Tahoe because they can now. And so we're seeing the same thing.
Yeah. I know. I interviewed Jamie Orr yesterday, and exactly. Yeah.
And so it's really cool, but these cities have all this really cool dynamic growth and everything else. But Ben, I mean, we were joking about it yesterday, but you should chime in here and kind of talk about it. It's like they have a district after a district after a district, and they all have like a different cool feel and different vibe. And you want to kind of talk about that because that's really unique.
This is the downtown that you're talking about?
Well, everywhere. I mean, there's this huge push in Tulsa to create a district, wherever you can. So we have, I guess it's the cool thing to do these days is just to be able to identify to a certain district. And so we're located in the East Village district. The Blue Dome district is about 2 blocks away from us. The Greenwood district is another 2 blocks away from us. So, I think that each district kind of has its own flair to it. Ours is kind of known for its creative culture. We have a lot of, local artists and, cool coffee shops, and it's kind of like a brick and timber type, from a real estate perspective, there's a lot of just creative, cool old buildings that have a lot of history to it. And so we want to tap into that. And that's kind of how we built out our space too, is to really have a lot of bright, colorful art, exposed brick, and just really kind of cater to the culture of the neighborhood that we're in.
Gio, what was your favorite thing about one of his locations?
Well, I just think that you can see it in the back of my background if you're looking at the video, but it's just very warm and bright, right? They've got really, really cool local artisans, which they've gone out and found that a lot of it is Tulsa feel, right? They may have murals of different landmarks within Tulsa. And so that's a big part of it. But I mean, it's so hospitality driven. I mean, you walk in and immediately you're engaged with the staff that's behind the desk, right? So very much like a hotel, when you walk in, it's all about hospitality. And immediately you just feel that warmth, right? You walk in, the space looks good. And you get that immediate welcome, right? And that's a big part of it. And then it's open in this common area that has the kitchen and all the fun things where people want to congregate, right? And so that was really cool. There's a lot of great open space, which can be a positive and a negative, right? And Ben and I walked through that. It's a careful dance between, having efficiency and having warmth and, kind of that, I guess, living room feel. And, Nick again with Common Dust does a great job with that, and Ben's kind of followed suit. But it comes a point where you're going, okay, in a post-COVID world, do we need all this open conference, all this open desking situation? What kind of memberships are we driving? But I love it, and I think this is a good time to kind of chime in. So you have 2 spaces, one on the second floor, one on the first, but you actually started on the second floor and then kind of grew into the first floor, which is now your primary entrance. You kind of want to talk about how you found this location, why you like this location, kind of what the thought was behind that layout.
Yeah, so we did things backwards, going from the second floor to the first floor. At the time, it was the only space in the building that the landlord was willing to kind of chop up to 10,000 square feet. and we bootstrapped our initial space, and so our budget really was, we obviously took our budget into account, and 10,000 square feet was something that we wanted to start out with and kind of test the market and see, how that would function. But the building in general, so it used to be the old City of Tulsa office building. So a lot of government employees were working in this building, and then about 4 years ago, right before we came in, the building was redeveloped. Actually, the owner of our building and I went to high school together, so I've known him for a long time. And so it was kind of a like match made in heaven, because he loved our concept and what we were trying to do. And so they have 75,000 square feet in our building, and it's fully occupied now. We've expanded to take over 25,000 square feet. But originally, when we signed our lease back in 2019, taking over 10,000 square feet, we obviously wanted to keep expanding our building, and we saw potential to do that. And we were fortunate enough to kind of get by COVID 5 months into our inception, and created a huge demand and had a waiting list of over 30 companies looking for a private office. And so we worked with our landlord to kind of roll out a management agreement on the first floor, which, Gio and I were talking about yesterday. And it's created some conflicts there, and it's something that we definitely understand is not ideal. Fortunately for us, they came in and built out, a brand new, amazing space for us. They paid for the entire build out, and we, simply operate it. So, we're definitely looking to make some changes to our space and kind of focus on how we can optimize it for, the foreseeable future. But yeah, I wouldn't advise operators who are getting started to necessarily, go from the second floor to the first floor. Make sure that they have kind of a key just outlook on how they want to position themselves over the next 5 to 10 years, and really think about that up front. And for us, it's worked out. It's been a little bit confusing to some of our prospects and to our members, but we're getting through it just fine.
But what I'd challenge there is actually helped you do the first floor in a different way than you would have done it originally, right? So your entryway is now done in version 2.0, like we discussed, in a format that you probably would have done differently had you done it the first time. And so I think, I don't believe in changing the way things are done often, because you learn, right, as everything happens for a reason. And and you've learned a lot from it. And the question is, now we went to 3.0 yesterday. I was telling Jamie about how your contractors hate the city boy that walked in all black with velvet red shoes on, and changed things up. But that's part of it. I mean, I love it. Is if you go to operators' space, I mean, I'm sure if you were to look at Jamie's space in Chicago versus the one she had in California, I mean, Jamie, your space is you evolved, right? I mean,
yeah, I think that's the thing, is it's easy to sort of in hindsight say, I wish I'd known, right? But I think Gio's point is right. Like, you just learn so much. And when you're doing physical space, it's really hard to look at other people's models and learn from them, I think. I'm guessing you took some things from WeWork. You went 10,000 feet in Tulsa, which is probably more space than a lot of operators would have taken down, which was, in hindsight, that's fantastic, right? That's a better business model. And that's probably because you got lucky and worked on a WeWork deal, saw the numbers, and just, you had access to that. But yeah, I think some of it, you just have to live through it and work through it and learn as you go. It's
right.
Kind of painful, I guess, that we have to do it that way. But yeah, now for space number 3.
Yeah, so space number 3, we're launching a new location in Midtown Tulsa in April. So it's going to be about 12,000 square feet in kind of another district that is very up and coming, super attractive to kind of young professionals. It's similar to like Deep Ellum in Dallas, I would say, where you have, a ton of walking foot traffic, a lot of retail amenities. There's a upscale food hall across the street that Gio and I tried to go to yesterday, but forgot that it's closed on Mondays, so that's not ideal. But 30 different, food options there. So it'll be nice once we get up and running there. Our members will have, a different lunch option every day, just all based in one location. So there's a ton of things that are really attractive about this new location, and we're already seeing a ton of demand for people that are wanting to sign up for our new location.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, just continue to kind of talk through it. I mean, you're learning and growing the latest is, you're looking at coffee, really, really cool spot there in version 3.0 that essentially has a great retail presence, and it's got the ability to add a lot of overall traffic that, part of it is getting people through the space and generating buzz. And what better way to do that than with coffee crack that you people drink? And I say that because I drink coffee. But it's just the reality of it, right? That's a great way to do it. And, we're giving Nick a big head because we keep talking about him, but that's what he did with his coffee concept that now he's, putting into first floors of office buildings and within his spaces and everything else. But it's a super well thought out idea. It's just the execution of the right partner, and is it the right coffee mix, and how much of the space are you eating into, and all those things. It's a careful dance.
So you're adding coffee. Are you adding coffee to the new location or to the existing location, or both?
So we're adding it to the new location. The existing location still pending. We're kind of working through our options there. But it's going to be more than coffee too. So it's actually a local company that is based 2 blocks away from our current location, and they kind of branded themselves as the speakeasy of the coffee industry. So if you walk into their building and you have to go down into the basement, and as you're walking down there, like, what is going to be down there? You don't expect it to be as extravagant as it is, but you have these cool bright murals everywhere. It's a really, really cool, well-run coffee shop. And I met the owner about a year ago, and we started talking about how we can work together. And so we're launching a cafe concept that's going to be based in our new location. So it's called Notion Market Cafe. And so we'll have grab and go food items. Our members will have the ability to jump on the app that we have and basically have food or coffee delivered to their office or their meeting rooms. So we really, in our minds, you can't have work without coffee. And, we have a ton of members that go through all of our drip coffee, and, it's quite an expense. And so if we can bring in the right partner that has the expertise to kind of evolve that quality amenity that we can offer to our members, it's something that we have really looked at hard and thought it was a good idea for us.
So will you still have free premium coffee for members, or what will that look like?
Yeah, so drip coffee is going to still be free for members.
Okay.
All of the premium coffee drinks and food items are going to be for purchase.
Got it. And that's what they'll order on the app and get delivered to their office. And I assume it's open to the public.
It is open to the public. Yes. Yep. So what we'll do is we'll have kind of a grab and go station. So if the public wants to come in, grab a coffee, leave, I think we'll have curbside service as well. They can do that if they want to stay and work out of our space, and we'll just charge for a day pass, or they can book one of our meeting rooms. We really think that, we have a lot of our clientele that continues to work out of coffee shops a couple days a week. We really want to mold the two together and think that we can operate as kind of a coffee shop, but also have a productive workspace for people too. So just really blending those two ideas together.
So what are you most passionate about what you get to do? Because I mean, this isn't a side hustle. Right? This is what you do on a daily basis. So what is it that gets you excited in the morning to get up and go to your space and do what you and your team get to do?
I mean, it's really serving our members. I think with my background, I've loved being able to work with companies who are positioned for growth and, seeing them succeed and really just showing up every day, getting to know our members on a personal basis, getting to know them and, all the things that they like to do outside of work and really getting to see them grow their organization and how we can really come in and kind of provide a resource for them to help foster that growth has been great for me. Just a quick story. We had a company called Embark who started in a 6-person office right after we launched our space, and they've grown to upwards of 30 employees. They've taken down 2 team suites. So stories like that, where you can really just, cater to companies of growing organizations and really just helping them achieve what they need to achieve and providing those resources to them is something that I'm just super passionate about.
Did you disappear? Okay, I'm curious about. He'll want to come back and ask something more personal, but so you saw WeWork open in Denver, and I don't know how long you saw them operate, but do you have a sense that maybe it's like more meaningful to operate? You're operating essentially where you grew up. Although Tulsa's much bigger than I expected. 411,000 people is what it said. I mean, I had no idea. That's not a small town. I mean,
right.
That's a legitimate city.
When you take in the total population, it's about 1 million.
Wow. How have I never been to Tulsa?
I don't know, but I remember the first time that we actually met in person. And I think the first question you asked me was if we were close to Nashville. And I was like, well, Jamie, we're a good 9.5 hour drive from Nashville.
Would you like to have a geography lesson?
I think the way he explained it to me yesterday was like, Jamie, you and I are about the same distance from Nashville.
From Nashville. I know. Sorry. Super. Now I want to go. So I'm gonna come. 411. That's a big. Anyway. Gio asked, about being passionate. It's got to feel good to support like local entrepreneurs in a place where you grew up. How would you sort of compare and contrast like what you run in terms of, community or vibe versus like a WeWork brand?
Yeah, we're very much like local focused, right? We want to cater to the people of Tulsa, and we work with a ton of nonprofits around the city to kind of help with fostering their initiatives, and we team up from a marketing approach to kind of help, we kind of help grow these local initiatives in Tulsa to really create awareness around what's going on here. And so we look at our operation more as a community and of local companies. We have companies that are based elsewhere, no doubt, but I would say the majority of our members are all local Tulsa-based individuals. And so it's been extremely satisfying to me to be able to kind of say that we operate under our Tulsa brand and our Tulsa flag. And even as we continue to expand, we want to take in all of those, kind of characteristics that we have and what we've built here in Tulsa to roll out to other cities as well. So, if we go into markets like Oklahoma City or other areas in Oklahoma, like we want to hire people that really have those relationships and that
Locally
are in a position that can really help with that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's such a big part. I mean, that's a great part to talk about growth and kind of what you envision overall for the company, right? Because I think you used Embark as a great example, right? As they've grown within your space, they're growing in other markets too. And, I think that's such a big part of growth, is really understanding who you serve and why you stand out amongst other people to be the best use of their overall business space, right? I mean, because we're in this time where everyone's trying to get people back. So it's about giving people somewhere that they're excited to go back to. I mean, you got to meet one of your members yesterday who works for Embark, as a matter of fact. She's like, oh my gosh, I love Valentine's and I love the hearts and all this stuff, because you and your team at the corner of your desk, the front desk there, had a bunch of Valentine's cards for them to pick up, but also like a little sign for them to order flowers. And I still remember you're like, don't forget to order your flowers. And that's what drove everything. She was stopped and told us all about how she loved hearts, and her daughter, commented about it. And I mean, that's such a major part of it. But I guarantee you, if you were to open Oklahoma City and other markets that Embark is in, she's gonna tell her staff that that's where they need the office, right? And so I think the point of that is it's such a great touch point that gives you the opportunity to grow the business in other places where you can continue to touch people like that. So, I mean, kind of what is your thought on growth? You and I had a great session kind of talking through that. I mean, you don't have to talk about markets, but just in general, what your view is on it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, just to piggyback on your point there, like we want to be, one of our key principles is being authentic. And, we feel like we can't be our authentic selves if we're in a market that we just know nothing about or have no relationships with, the city in general. And so for us, like it's very strategic. Our growth process is very strategic, and we want to look at underserved markets in what we call kind of flyover states, where we can come in and really make a big difference in the community and really offer something that's not there. And so for us, we're looking at growing our footprint still in Tulsa. We think there's a ton of demand that still needs to be serviced here in Tulsa, and other parts in Oklahoma. And so that's kind of at the forefront of what we're trying to do in terms of our growth efforts. But I think there's a lot of opportunity in Kansas and Arkansas and Missouri. And so, but like I said, we're not interested in going into a market if we can't be authentic and our brand doesn't mean anything to people. And so we want to make sure that we're in a place where, we can really create a buzz around what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we started talking about this before. You are on number 3, right? You got a bun in the oven for number 3.
Number 3.
Jamie's laughing at me. She's like, "Who says bun in the oven, and why is it so random in the middle?" She's like, "It's all right. I mean, this is uncensored. We're good."
Totally.
There is a bun in the oven. Yep. So we've got a 4-year-old son, Bo, and 2-year-old daughter, Palmer. And then we're expecting another one to the family in April. So we're going to wait to find out the gender just because we have one of each. And so my wife and I decided to be, I guess, just super surprised and we'll be fortunate and happy with whatever comes out.
And she works the business with you, right? She handles a lot of the marketing stuff because
so and my dad, we bootstrapped the company, and he's still kind of a consultant, and his background as an entrepreneur, he's kind of helped grow certain manufacturing companies over the years. And so it's been a good resource for me to kind of lean on in terms of not only just operating a startup, but really kind of being a boss, because it's something that was completely new to me when we opened up our space and our business, is, you know, having employees who are reliant on you. And so just leaning on him for advice and trying to be the best possible boss and manage, you know, our employees the right way has been huge for us. And so we want to be, you know, we're always going to be homegrown and really focused on kind of the family business.
It's a challenging time to be an employer. You're one of your community managers, Jess, is in our community manager program, and she's awesome. She's always popping in and sharing things and, you know, asking some questions. Yeah, I can tell she's a great fit. Yeah. What do you do with your team to sort of build, you know, ingrain the culture? Like Gio mentioned, you know, the hearts and the Valentine stuff. Like, does that come from you or does that come from the team?
Definitely doesn't come from me. No, that comes.
That's all Hayden, right?
Guys, Valentine's Day is coming up. I'm sure my husband's like, I'm sorry, what day?
Right. No, I'm glad that we have that at the front desk, because now it's a constant reminder to me that I need to order flowers.
Flowers, get the card. Yep.
I'll be doing that soon. No, so I mean, it all really stems from, you know, we're very much a all hands on deck team, and, you know, there's no one person or position that really outweighs the other. And so we want to have a very transparent, fun kind of staff, and make sure that we meet, you know, on a weekly basis and kind of go over, you know, what the next week is going to look like. And, you know, Hayden's in charge of coming up with the events, and Jess and Nicole have input on all of that. And so really the creative approach is stemmed from, you know, Hayden.
So we'll start there, right? So what is, and she's your wife, so if you want to take two or three, but I'm asked for one to make it easy on you. Okay. What is your favorite thing about Hayden?
Oh man. I mean, first and foremost, she is probably the funniest person that I've ever met. She keeps me on my toes. She always has, like, you know, little, we call them Haydenisms. And so I've got a big journal that I put together since we started dating over 10 years ago. And it's just little things that Hayden has said over the years. And so I don't know if I could share some of these things with you right now, but they're pretty funny. So she's, let's just say that she's a bubbly personality, and she's just so much fun to be around.
All right. What about Jessica?
Jess she's a rock star. I mean, she's just constantly go. She's, it's her mission to really cultivate our community here and drive that aspect of our business. And so, you know, there may not be people that know me here personally. Like, I try to get to know all of our members, but everyone knows Jess. Everyone knows, you know, just how fun of a personality she is and what she brings to the space. And so we couldn't do it without her.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, just sitting there, we took a slight break in the middle of the day, Jamie, because I had to send some emails and stuff, and just sitting at that table right by the front desk, listening to her interactions on the phone was pretty incredible. Just, you know, the way she was able to interact quickly with people. I mean, one of them was someone calling about event, you know, a conference space and event space. And it was just, the interaction was just awesome to hear. And then the different members that would walk up and just sit. So they have bar stools at the front desk. So we just sit there and start talking to her. Yeah.
Poor Jess. And that's why Jess is like, I can't get anything done, but the members love me.
That is a fact. Yes. So her job, I would say, is mostly just interacting with members, but also, I mean, she gives most of the tours, and she does all of the prospecting work. And so, but I would say that she gets distracted a lot of the time. So, but she knows how to,
she's driving, you know, business and the CRM system. And that's the beauty of it.
And that's so critical because it's such a personal choice when you can choose where you work, and someone like Jess is reinforcing that choice. Like, this is the place for me. I love this vibe. I love this person I'm talking to who's making me smile or, feel.
100%.
Yeah. I mean,
you can't walk into another space, especially in Tulsa, but I would imagine anywhere in Oklahoma that you have somebody like Jess. And so having her has been a game changer for us. And so yeah, she's great.
And she's moving, she'll be the community manager at the new location, right?
Yep. So we are going to move her over to our Market Station location. She's going to manage the operations over there. She's going to be our community manager. And then Nicole, who's currently our community associate, she is going to get promoted to community manager in this village. So, we definitely want to promote within, and, our employees have been with us basically since the very beginning, which is not easy to find, especially with a startup and, within the co-working industry as a whole. Like, I know of other operators who just churn through employees so much. And so we definitely want to incentivize them and keep them here for the long run. And we know how valuable they are to our business and our brand. So we want to promote within, and then we're going to be bringing on, a couple more new hires to work under them.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a good time. We're going to move on to Nicole, but I'm going to start with Nicole and be like, if y'all are not watching video, you don't know that I just had to run to the bathroom mid-record because I'm drinking way too much water.
Wait, I got my.
Exactly. So if y'all can't see this, it's one of those like huge water bottles that
totally can't see.
Almost like the type you flip over and fill up your water with, but it's not.
Like that the Culligan man has to deliver.
Yeah, exactly. And it has like, you suck. It's 8 a.m. and you haven't drank 12 ounces of water.
Totally. Mine has that on it too.
It holds you accountable. You have to.
Oh my gosh. And so I walked in yesterday and Nicole had one of those things sitting next to her. And I'm just like, how do you not pee every 10
How do you do that
like,
job and drink that much water?
I think hers is actually twice the size of Jamie's too. It's like 70 plus ounces.
It's absolutely insane. But either way, what's your favorite thing about Nicole?
Well, she's well hydrated. But outside of that, Nicole is definitely, our creative person. Like she's very much a people pleaser, and, she gets to know our members on a level to where, I think she took one of our members out recently to a concert. And so she's very heavy into the music scene. She's, outspoken, and, she's very much a pleasure for us to have around.
Well, that's awesome. So it's awesome that she's getting promoted and that you guys are growing the team and the bench from the inside. So I'm excited to see that new location open. Luckily, we were able to tour it, and they're still working on the first floor, but the second floor is pretty much framed up with a couple odds and ends here and there and changes that you decided to make at the last minute.
Couple offices that
I had nothing to do with it.
I actually got a call from the owner right before this recording. And
you did say you'd be getting it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I knew it was coming. He goes, "Are you guys adding 2 more offices?" I said, "Yeah, I think it's it's obviously in our best interest to get, to add 2 more offices." He goes, "Okay, well, yeah, we'll get it done." So we're having Gio in town to kind of, put his fingerprint, so to speak, on our space, as we'll call them the Gio offices.
There you go. He gets a plaque.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun to come through and have a conversation about the existing spaces and kind of what do you do with those and how do you make the space more efficient, right? Because I think I said that earlier, it's such a careful balance, right? And trying to not, part of what you were saying is, well, I don't want to disrupt that feel and that portion of the space because of the people that utilize it. But then really it's so much fun for me to be able to go in and look at it. I know it is for Jamie as well, to really go in and dissect the space, because you go in it every day. And so you're used to seeing it in ways that we don't see space. And so, you know, for us, it's just fun to ask the questions of, yeah, I know this is what you think it was, but is it always got 4 people for every 1,000 feet sitting in open desking, or is it just happen to be this way today?
Well, and the way that people have utilized space too has changed so dramatically over the last couple of years that, you know, when we started planning out the design for this location, I mean, it's been in the work for a year and a half. And so when we started planning out this location, we had a lot more people that were utilizing, you know, kind of our lounge areas and different open space areas in our space. So we purposely planned it that way. But I mean, the reality is, you know, if you're not building out more offices, you should be. And so we're at a point right now where we're really trying to maximize, obviously, our efficiency. And so it was a great reminder having Gio in town yesterday to really
take it up another notch.
Take it up another notch. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it was even like, you bring that up. I mean, a great example is your version 1.0. So upstairs at your current location, you've got a workroom that has a printer in it with 2 long counters to work from. And it's essentially another office for 2 people. And that's kind of part of what I challenge you on, is to go, how often is this actually used? Because I mean, now you can go to Best Buy and buy a printer, copier, scanner for $150. And so most people have those things in their office. And part of, like I shared with you, if anyone needs room to spread out and put a binder together or something, they can do that in one of the conference rooms. And so that's a perfect example of how the world has shifted from before to now. But I mean, it's just continuing to adapt, right? And make sure that you're keeping up with times.
Ben, what's the model on the coffee? Is the partner paying rent? Are you doing a rev share? What will that look like?
I can tell you, Ben, I am not leading the witness on this one. I might have given her a little bit of information, but I have no idea how we're back on coffee.
Yeah, so good question. It's a rev share arrangement. So he's financing all the equipment, and you know, we're essentially giving him free rent to operate. He's going to supply, you know, his staff, the baristas that are going to be working there every day. So we won't have to deal with any of that or any of the expenses that come with it. And so we'll take a little bit of the revenue that gets derived from the sales of the coffee shop portion.
And then is the broader goal member experience or monetization, or both?
No, I mean, I think we realize that we're not going to be making much of anything off the actual coffee business. And so for us, it's really adding that, you know, value added amenity to our space and taking us up a notch in terms of how we can offer a quality coffee service that no one else can really offer in town, while also not having to finance the equipment and having somebody who is there every day to ensure
and operational expertise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Give me an example of what kind of snacks can I order to my office?
So I think there's going to be a pretty big menu of like grab and go food items, ranging from like wraps, sandwiches, breakfast burritos.
You got a healthy salad in there?
Salads. I think there's going to be some salads. Yeah.
Hard-boiled eggs.
I'm going to call.
So they actually have a kitchen that's 3 blocks away from our current location. And so they're going to be delivering food items daily that are fresh. So we won't have to worry about, you know, the shelf life of anything.
Perfect. So the location was already kind of part of the advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's super interesting. I love the hospitality element. I think it's not easy to execute on. It's not easy to figure out if you want to monetize it, how much of a profit driver can it be? But I think from a member experience, I think it's super important. And I think it's hard for co-working operators. I think it's going to be a bar, that they have to hit that's going to be harder. But I just start thinking like when there are lots of options in a market, the one with the hospitality, how does that not win? So I like it. We're interviewing Ian Miner next week, who started the program at the Hoxton, and the Hoxton's just like, they must have other locations, but in Chicago, I haven't been to it, but same thing. You can sit down, you can, very hospitality focused. You can order your drink and, food. I also think, yeah, I don't know, for people who are at home, like one of the big like inertia problems I have is like, I got everything at home. I got the food, I got the whatever. If you make it super easy for me and it's a better experience, because I don't have to figure out what to make for lunch every day, then
Right.
even better. I mean, it sounds like you have a really strong community of entrepreneurs and businesses who just like need your space. But I think it's the next generation, and I think it's hard to do. And I bet you're going to learn a bunch of lessons, and you're going to, we'll talk in a year and you'll do the hindsight thing, but you'll evolve and you'll be that much further ahead of anybody who's not experimenting with it yet. So if Gio's nervous about the model, I think it's an important experiment.
Well, I can tell you that we went kind of down a different path than what we were originally trying to do. So originally we were actually thinking about building out our own coffee brand. And, we quickly realized like, hey, that's going to be a lot of time and effort. And, it's something that we're not in the day-to-day business of doing. And so we really wanted to partner with a brand who already has that identity in the market, and people love, and people actually will drive 20 to 30 minutes just to go to this coffee shop. And so being able to, I think when we put out our post that we were kind of unleashing this news, we had over like 3,000 likes. And so for us, like, I think people are super excited about the potential of what it can be. We'll see how it produces, how it evolves and progresses. Yeah, I think, we're super excited.
I love the unleashing.
Totally. Unleashing the partnership.
That's huge.
I mean, yeah, we took the veil right off of it, and it was something that so Hayden, who controls all of our social media, she's very dialed into like what people want to see. And so we're very strategic about what kind of social posts we put out there. And so being able to kind of work with a brand that already has an identity and has a followship like they do is great for us. Because at the end of the day too, we're going to be able to cross market each other and cross promote each other. And so having them being able to drive customers to our space is only in our best benefit too.
So, I asked you earlier what gets you excited in the morning to get going. Like right now, as you think about this third location, I know you're looking at a fourth and a fifth and others. I mean, what really excites you about that side of it? And I know serving people is a big part, but as you're trying to create a brand, I mean, kind of what's your vision?
I just think that there's so much untapped potential in, markets that are smaller in size that just get often overlooked. So, like you said earlier, WeWork or Industrious, they're not looking in Tulsa. They're not looking in Wichita. They're not looking in Oklahoma City for the most part. And so being able to serve markets that we think that we can, make a good presence for ourselves in is something that is just super interesting for me to do. Being able to roll out something that people just haven't seen before. And it's a new concept. Like we're not going to go into Denver or San Francisco or LA or wherever, where it's a market that's oversaturated with huge operators, because we know that we're not in a position to go to battle with them. And so we want to focus on, smaller markets and being able to put something on the map that is going to be just a huge differentiator for people that live in those markets and also for the city itself. And so I think that just being able to cater to those smaller markets is something that we're really excited about.
I would put my money on Tulsa. I love it. 411,000 people. And right, WeWork's not going there. But I would also say, I still think we are in, and I would be curious what Gio thinks, like the first inning of co-working. I think you can still go to major markets. I mean, in San Francisco's kind of having a weird moment, so that may not be a good example, but I can think of only a couple of spaces that are super compelling to me. And I think the cool thing about, co-working is that everybody can find their vibe. I think there's so much opportunity, and to your point, markets that just are totally underserved, and the response that you've had already, you'll keep tweaking the model, but it feels like you've tapped into a true need, and you've really kind of delivered that product market fit.
And Tulsa itself too. I mean, it's been, our city's been in the national headlines over the last few weeks just because of our Tulsa remote program and the how we incentivize people to move to Tulsa. I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Tulsa remote program, but basically we are our city is paying remote workers who live elsewhere $10,000 to move to Tulsa and work from anywhere that they want. So for us, it's absolutely unbelievable to have that. I mean, I think we had 20,000 applicants last year alone apply to the Tulsa remote program. So being able to tap into those resources and just having, a ton of people who are moving here to save on, cost of living is, I think, 25% compared to, other markets. And so it's a much more affordable market to be in. And people actually stay here because they actually, they realize that Tulsa is a cool place to live and it's a great place to raise a family. And so I think the retention rate for people who join this 1-year program is 90+% who stay over 3 years. So being able to bring people into our city and get to experience it, we've got all the right leaders in place and all the, initiatives that are going to, continue to grow not only our city, but, I think the co-working industry as a whole.
Now that I know where Tulsa is, I'm coming to visit, Ben. So I have
Please do.
a final question for you. We've talked about hindsight today. If you could go back and give your 25-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, man. I would say to just trust the process. I mean, I think for me, I get so caught up in the day-to-day that, sometimes you have a negative outlook on if what you're doing is really purposeful and if you are on the right path forward. And so I think just really trusting in your own beliefs and what you're trying to do, and just really trusting the process and making sure that not only you, but your employees are kind of set up for success. I think just taking things slow and not just overreacting to little day-to-day things is something that I tended to do in the past. And so right now I'm trying to, obviously have the proper work-life balance and spend as much time with my family as I possibly can. But I think it's really important for people to take a step back from work and really just focus on their life and their wellness and their mental state as well.
Enjoying the journey. That's been one of my toughest lessons over the last 10 years, right?
Yeah.
You're so focused on the destination that you forget that every day is an awesome day that we get to experience that builds towards that future. So that's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much for A, hosting me yesterday, and B, jumping on here and telling us more about your roots in the Root.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Ben.